Welcome to Typebook. We are Chris and Rose, INTJ and INFJ, and we are cataloging a variety of people based on their Jungian psychological types and their MBTI four-letter abbreviations. Today we are taking a look at Ayn Rand at the request of a viewer.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Your life, it has...
Yes. It has brought me where I am.
Okay. So that you believe in Ayn Rand, first and foremost.
Oh, certainly.
Not necessarily a God or a heaven or a hell or a government or some other people or forces beyond your control, but you believe in you.
I wouldn't put it that way. I could say that, yes, it's true to some extent, but it's very inexact because it isn't a matter of faith. I have confidence in my own rational ability. But more than that, I also know that if I had less abilities than I have, no matter what happened to me, my mind is all that I have to guide me. So that if I were me or the lowest girl in the class mentally, which I never was, the same morality would apply to me.
All right, stop.
How smart are you?
Okay, we've typed her as an INTP. She said basically she believes in her rational mind or her ability to think.
Yes.
INTPs trust their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they are very confident in their thinking.
Yes.
It's the same story for a lot of us intuitive people. It's when others come along and question it that makes us insecure in a way.
Yep.
Okay, so how does this look similar to the INTJ? Because she's typed as an INTJ.
I don't think it looks similar.
Okay, so then how's it different then?
It's not even thinking necessarily, really. You come across something, you go, and you just see the glaring contradictions and things. That's more INTJ, I think, rather than like a process. You know, it's just, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Why are people like this? Why are people like that? Why do people say this? You know, that.
Yes,
just...
well, the reason I'm asking is because, there's a very similar thing going on between those two types, INTP and INTJ. There is a trusting at a young age in yourself in a certain sort of way. But then there's this lack of awareness of the world around you. So that when the world impinges, in your case, why do kids behave like this? Why are they acting like this? And I think it's similar for the INTP, but in a slightly different kind of way. Why do people respond to me when I act this way? Like this kind of cluelessness.
Cluelessness is the same, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, no, everything makes logical sense. Why is the world outside wrong? That's something like, what? Wait a minute. No, that can't be right, because it's right in my head. Yeah, it's the same malaise, but I think internally we're quite different. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
You brought this up now, that you were not the dumbest girl in the class.
No.
How smart were you in school when you were a little girl?
Very.
Yeah?
I was the top student I went to 2 different schools in 2 different cities, and I was the top student there.
In addition to being the top student, did they ever measure your intelligence and tell your mom and dad, oh, this girl is so bright, this girl is a jewel?
No, in my time they didn't have those tests, not in Russia.
But you knew that you were smart?
Oh, yes.
Did you feel that school was too slow, that you were so far ahead of the material?
Yes.
How did you handle that? How did you school yourself really beyond the curriculum or curricula in the school? Yes,
okay,
it
stop.
really is.
But you can see the FE.
Yes.
Glaringly.
Yes. Interesting, because he said, did you know you were smart? Yes, she said. And I'm sure probably many INTPs would recognize that they are quote unquote smart from a young age. And it's funny at the end how she just said, oh, you really are interested in this? Again, this is the cluelessness. Like, she can't believe he wants to sit and talk to her about her schooling, and why, she was a smart child or whatever. She's very clueless. Like, this is interesting to you? In her mind, what she has been probably interviewed on and what people find interesting are her thoughts, philosophical thoughts on capitalism and human relationships or whatever. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, she was definitely very confident, believing that she was smart. That was probably affirmed to her. Also, she probably had an advantage over the INTP males because we've said this before, females tend to fare better in school simply because females are usually more settled than males and can sit for long periods of time. INTP males probably do not fare as well. Same with INTJ males.
No.
Males in general.
I just felt like I was at odds at school. I don't know, when you very quickly see incongruencies in your own teachers who you're meant to be learning from, that's very difficult to overcome, I think. That's not me trying to be arrogant.
No. Yeah.
It's just true. Most people, the average adult, isn't consistent and logical. So then, like, this person's teaching you, they don't make sense. And it's like, no, I can't do this. Time to check out. 3, 2, 1, go.
I always try to sit in the back row of a class, and I put a book in front of me, and I was writing novels from the age of 10. I was writing screenplays at 8, but I was writing novels in class because otherwise I would be terribly bored. I was never discovered because we had textbooks. And if you read ahead of the lesson that they present in class, you could know what the teacher said. Mm-hmm. I had to read the textbook just once, and then I knew the course. So I really think it had a bad influence on me, on my working discipline. It was too easy and too boring.
But how did it affect your working discipline?
I never had to make an effort. I certainly did have to when I began writing novels. That's really difficult. But in school, I had no difficulties.
How was writing novels difficult for you?
Because it's an enormous context that you have to keep in mind, an enormous structure. You can't do it inspirationally. You can't do it by just looking at the piece of paper once and deciding what you're going to do. It's a whole enormous structure, much more complicated than a building. And you have to keep it all in mind, never contradict your outline, and carry it out. It's killing difficult, but wonderful when you succeed at it. Mm-hmm. I mean a good novel, of course.
Do you recall what the first novel was you wrote when you were 10 years old, behind that book in the back row in school?
The very first one? I remember the first screenplay. Oh, the novel I never finished.
Oh.
Wait a moment. No, I did finish it. Yes, I remember it. The one I didn't finish, I started in college. I remember it, but don't make me tell you the plot.
No, I will not. But I would like to think that somewhere that manuscript is in a drawer in your house or in a box up in a closet.
It's probably bombed out of existence
Really?
in Leningrad.
So it exists then only in your mind, huh?
Yeah, I didn't bring it with me.
When did you discover
All right, let's stop.
or think
Okay.
of?
She just has that little, I don't know. I've watched her in other interviews. She almost looks like a little bird, you know, the way she's like smiling and sort of blinking and moving her head. It just reminds me of that for some reason.
She's a bit girl-like, isn't she?
Yes. I mean, you could just see her strong thinking ability. I think it's because of the FE and the INTP, to contrast them with the INTJ. I feel like the FE and the INTP provides them with more of a groundedness. I don't know. It's weird. It's like a sense of being there. Whereas when we look at INTJs, it's almost like an otherworldliness or something. You know, like they're there, but they're not there. I don't even know how to explain this.
Right.
They're
It's not like
sort
a
of they're
relationship.
detached. No,
Yeah.
they're very just like kind of, I don't want to say coldly detached. Well, I'm going to say it. And I know that's not, that doesn't mean you're cold individuals. I'm getting looks right now. But there is that sense, I don't know, with the INTP, they're just so, they seem more present. I think it's because of the FE.
Yes, we're just a little bit more in our head, in our answering and things.
The INTP is as well, but because of the FE, it just makes them more personable. Like this woman, even though she's obviously a thinking type woman, you could see she's just more personable in it.
Social.
Are you? Yeah, more social, right? You're interested. You're interested in that? Like you want to talk about that? I mean, she's still reading him, like Effie would. Of course, she's kind of clueless about it. Like, why would you want to do that? But it's just more personable of an interaction, I guess.
Yes, 3, 2, 1, go.
Or allow objectivism to become your philosophy?
From the time that I remember myself, which is 2.5, the first incident in my life I can remember, I was 2.5, and from that time on to the present, I never changed my convictions. Only at 2.5, I didn't know as much as I know now, but the fundamental approach was the same. I've never had to change.
Why has it worked for you?
Because it's true, because it corresponds to reality, because it is the right philosophy. By true, I mean it corresponds to reality, therefore it permits me to deal with reality properly. And it, first of all, tells me I have...
He asked her about her philosophy and stuff, and he said, why? She said, because it's true. That just seems to be words that TI uses. First and foremost, because something is true.
My problem is it's only really true for her.
I know that. That's not what I want to argue about right now. But I don't think FI uses that as a word as much. I think TI means it in a different sense. It's true.
In terms of correct.
Yes. It's correct. If someone asked you, I was just going to ask you that. If someone asked you, why is your philosophy, what would you say?
I would probably say because it's right.
Because I was going to say that. The word would be right as opposed to true. And they're very subtle word choices, but I find myself using that word true a lot because it's true. This is the truth.
No, I think I would always say right. And because right is correct, and right is also moral, as in it's the right thing to do. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
My judgment, not my emotions, my judgment.
Why do you think that religions have attracted more people to their philosophies than objectivism has attracted people to its?
Well, first of all, they had much longer time. Now, remember, religion is older than objectivism. I don't think I would want to attract as many people as religions do, but the real and serious answer is this. Religion is a primitive form of philosophy, because what religion and philosophy have in common is that it's a system of background premises. It gives you a frame of reference, a context, in fundamental terms, and then you live the concretes of your life accordingly. So religion is primitive, canned philosophy, if you want to. It gives you canned answers, and it says, here, you can rely on it, you don't need to think, it will tell you what to do in practically every situation, just obey us, take us on faith. Well, why do people accept it? Because nobody can live without a philosophy. Even the most primitive, unthinking man needs something to tie all of his actions, ideas, and his life together. He needs integration. Religion provides it to him ready-made. Philosophy,
all right, let's stop.
Properly.
Okay.
Interesting. I disagree with her. Mostly because she says that religion is a canned, what did she say?
Yes.
A canned philosophy, which she's, again, arguing from the statement that religious people apparently don't think. To me, religion is a philosophy. I don't necessarily, it can be a canned philosophy, of course, but it doesn't have to be. I find it interesting that such a brilliant woman could dismiss extremely intelligent people who also happen to be quote unquote religious. Anyway, that's just my thought on that. I know, I listen to this woman and then I have my own thoughts.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I know we're both the same, aren't
I've been
we?
trying
Yes.
to. It's very difficult because she is intelligent.
Of course.
She has interesting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with them necessarily, but I know where she's coming from.
Well, we listened to, of course, other videos and just listened to her overarching philosophy of life and how she thinks about relationships.
She comes at it from the perspective of someone who is not characterized by feeling in the slightest.
Exactly. Yes. It's very strange. Like, to me, it's actually very childlike, which I know that's kind of hard for me to put into words, but it doesn't take everything into account. It doesn't take the breadth of humanity into account.
No. And then she says she wouldn't want as many people as following objectivism as they would a religion.
Right.
But why, if it's true?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Why wouldn't you?
Right.
You know, it's like a personal philosophy. And in that way, I
See,
don't
this
think
is
it is
the
a
difference.
philosophy.
Okay, this is the difference. Christopher Hitchens, when asked by Richard Dawkins if there was one Christian left in the world, would he choose to convert that person? He said no, he would not. He'd want them to stay a Christian. And he really had no answer for why that was. And to me, that's FI.
Yeah.
This woman lacks that. Like I said, there's this childishness in her philosophy that just doesn't take everything into account.
Yeah, it's missing something.
And
It's
again,
like the child
yeah,
who's out there, you know, squashing ants. Like,
yeah,
it's like a
I gotta get rid of
disconnect.
all the ants. Not realizing that ants have a purpose in some way. And again, I'm not bringing all this up to like for Chris and I to have a disagreement and say what we agree and disagree, but I'm just pointing out the childlikeness of the INTP. I think that ultimately, when it comes down to things relating to human nature, there is a naivete there. And in a strange way, it's almost like an idealistic naivete that only if we could do this and it would make the world better. But it kind of fails to take some things into account, which are things that cannot necessarily be understood by the human mind, but must be felt. And I think this woman, for all her brilliance, has missed that a bit.
Well, I mean, you know, they say INTJs are arrogant, but really this is the arrogance of the thinking.
Right, exactly. Good point.
Which, you know, I've been guilty of as well,
Mm-hmm.
I must say.
Well, that's why I said there is a definite similarity. You have a lot of the same things going on with the INTP. But this woman is definitely not an INTJ. She exhibits the FE, again, not just in her smile and in her little bird-like ways, but in her life philosophy that she has
just
not.
lack of awareness, really.
Exactly. And not really introspected on that depth of feeling, I guess, that FI has. It's just not there. She's got the depth in the thinking. But again, none of us as human beings are complete in that way. And again, that's my argument for why we need each other, which is exactly sort of the opposite of what Ayn Rand says. But she sort of proved why she needs FI people in the world.
In my opinion, she's kind of just logically came up with reasons to devalue feeling, really. And yeah, okay, you can do that, but like, it's not the same measure of, it's like trying to measure water with a ruler. It's
Right.
it's not the same. So although it might make sense logically to say, well, logically, feeling doesn't make any sense, so we'll disregard it completely. Being there, done that. But at the end of the day, like, there's value that is immeasurable from feeling. It can't be quantified, and that kind of stacks up on other things about humankind.
To support our project, please comment, like, and subscribe. We want to encourage a dialogue in the comments, so substantiated disagreement is welcome. Check out the playlist for this type and our recommended video below. If there's someone you want us to type, please leave a comment for us. Or you can look into our fast track system to find out how you can get your favorite people typed sooner.